I'm Ian Valentine, Chair of the Indiana Arts Commission. I'm calling to order the quarterly business meeting on Friday, December 6, 2024. We are meeting in the Indiana Government Center South Conference Room C. We do have some members on the line. We'll call the roll in a moment because we have a few other things first before that. First of all, I want to, on behalf of the commission, thank Greg Hull for the tour.
If you're able to join us, please come anytime.
And I apologize as I couldn't, as Maya pointed out, when you have two teenagers, sometimes things come up. So I'm going to take you up on that personal tour offer. Thank you. And I've heard that Austin has an anecdote from the tour to share.
I have a very small one. One of the, I don't know if they were professor or staff, but in the printmaking shop, there was a individual who let me know that they utilized Commissioner Wiley's legal advice hotline that we have on our website for some contract advice for her own personal work, and wanted to thank him and the ISD Staffing Commission for having that available for individual artists who do not have that capacity on their own. So thank you, Commissioner Wiley.
Thank you. Great, thank you. And we have the Indiana Poet Laureate with us, Curtis Chrysler from Fort Wayne. You look like a photo.
That's good, I hope.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Curtis, is there anything you'd like to say about your time as a poet laureate?
It's been crazy, great, beautiful, and hell of exhausting. But the train is moving like I want it now. And so that's really cool. We'll be ending the last pop-up on the 19th in Bartholomew, Indiana. So we will have made up that time from the beginning of the year. So we will have had 11 pop-ups this year, almost below the 12 that we wanted to do. So we'll make up that other one next year. So it's been the pop-ups, everyone wants to steal them, the round robins, and I'm like, go ahead, do that. But now what we've created a circuit in Indiana that I'll be addressing for people to go to. So there's places in southern Indiana, eastern Indiana, northern Indiana, where you can go and get poetry and address that. So that's been something.
That's wonderful. Thank you for your service in this role.
Oh, thank you.
I think we wanted to invite you to kick off with their reading.
Okay, okay. I was gonna go up there, I was there watching, so can everyone hear me from right here? I think this is apropos. It's called When Your Mother Corrects the Indiana Poet Laureate. And this happens when my mentor, friend, and colleague, Jordan Palomares, was Indiana Poet Laureate, and he had us out on an engagement with him. And you'll see. When my mother corrects the Indiana Poet Laureate, you feel like yelling, "No, Miss Sophia!" As if you are Lawrence Fishburne and she is Oprah Winfrey caught up in the past. Shame on your brown face like rouge, but a minute later, when he comes back to her acknowledging she is correct, you realize she's always been correct. And although you never thought where you came from would matter much, a splash resided. And it all spreads back to Lake Michigan, washing up on your life, and how you would one day butterfly into a man with legs, matriculate into another day to flap your wings. To never know you'd meet a man who would become your bookmark, a man who would become your idol, a man who would become another man in front of you, a voice you recognize in the wolf's howl. Some say you should have never been here, but you have always leaned on stargazing and letting the moon burn its lips on yours. Somehow you saw the moment your mother would meet the Indiana Port Authority, and somehow we were always here, and he would leave all of these men packaged like lunch meat into some moment of time where you have swallowed life like bits of tart food in the backyard of your suburban mess. The yard your mother built a garage on. The world's a small place full of eyeballs for huge moments. You wish more brain matter, but your head hits the mesosphere, driving out of the country of lakes. Everything behind you is closer than it seems. You still go forward into the darkness, where a white line pulls you back to where you start propulsion again. Although the world is not a circle, it is an O-shaped mouth, yawning in the hurt of morning sun on its walk of shame. Most times you end up somewhere you have faded out, but begin where there's no footprint. Torn edge of rotating beginnings. This early in the morning. I must say, this is an undignified time to be up.
I second that.
So Lydia on our staff works directly and manages this program, and Curtis has started his term as poet laureate in January. It's a 2-year term with the opportunity to renew, and I'm delighted to say that Curtis has agreed to serve another 2 years after his term. Curtis, thanks so much for being with us.
Very nice.
Your schedule's so busy, it's been tough to get you. So appreciate you being here at this ungodly hour.
And I need the other 2 years because we have 94 counties.
Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now the fun stuff. Austin, would you call the roll, please?
We'll start with commissioners in the room. Raina Bradley,
I'm here.
Chad Bolser,
Present.
Dave Heist,
Here.
Greg Hull,
Here.
Walter Kanabe,
Here.
Mark Maxwell,
Here.
Kelsey Pieper,
Here.
Renee Thomas,
Here.
and Penny Valentine,
Here.
Scott Wiley.
Here.
Okay, we'll move on to our commissioners present via Zoom. Azizi Arlington Slocum,
Present.
Daniel Martinez,
Here.
Lori McRobbie,
Present.
Jake Oakman.
Present.
That is our commissioners. Moving on to IAC staff, Jordan Adams,
Jordan Adams, Artist Services Program Manager.
Eric Ashby,
Eric Ashby, Grants and Research Manager.
Connie Brown,
Connie Brown, Marketing and Communications Director.
Lydia Campbell Mayer,
Lydia Campbell, Mayor, Community Services Manager.
Maya Michelson,
Maya Michelson, Executive Director.
Stephanie Fendler,
Stephanie Finley, Financial Operations Manager.
Gwendolyn Pickett,
Gwendolyn Pickett, Communications Manager.
Andre Zhang Sanera.
Andrew Zangsinera, Deputy Director of Operations.
Madam Chair, that is everyone present.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, everyone has been provided the agenda and the minutes from our September 6, 2024 meeting. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to make to either the agenda or the meeting minutes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So
So moved. Jake Oakman.
I'll second Scott Wiley.
Wonderful, we have a motion and a second. If you'll call the roll, Austin.
Absolutely. Raina,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Daniel, nope. Mark,
Aye.
Jake, Kelsey,
Aye.
Renee,
Aye.
and
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
And now to Zoom people, Azizi,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Jake.
Aye.
There you go.
Thank you. Next up, we have the consent agenda. We have all, I'm going to read through these. If anyone has anything they'd like to pull out, will let me know after I read through them. Items submitted for commission approval, the fiscal year 25 year-to-date financials, and then reports for review, the Arts Trust report, the communications report, the Poetry Out Loud update, staff updates and activity report, external partnerships update, KPI report, and inverse program evaluation. Does anyone have any items they would like to pull out from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, if you'll call the roll.
Absolutely, and I'll do it in the right order this time. Raina,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Dave, Greg, Walter,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Kelsey,
Aye.
Renee,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Azizi,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Jake.
Aye.
That is everyone's.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, committee reports. We start with the Committee on the Future. Andre.
Absolutely. Well, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Glad to be back, y'all. I'm gonna start with staff learning. So calendar year 24 has been a great year for us as the staff to learn about professional development. We've been doing a lot of opportunities to get better at what we're doing right now with our agency and our work. So we're gonna start with quarter one. Quarter one was kickoff with Maya represented us at the NEA Summits with Art Place in Washington, DC. In March, Maya and Connie represented us in the Tourism Conference, connecting with local tourism boards across the state. And Maya then again went and represented us at the Arts with West Summit in Madison, Wisconsin. For quarter two, we went over to, Eric started with the Creative Vitality Suite, learning about data about creating economic impact. This was virtual. Stephanie Haynes represented us in TitleCon with the Department of Education in Plainfield. And then Eric and I went over to Salt Lake City and learned with our family partners how we can make our grant program application better. May, Stephanie went on to the other side of this border and friends of that Arts Impact in Ohio with the Ohio Arts Council. Maya represented us at the IU World Conference of French Lake, and then Eric and our intern time, Victoria Sampson, was over here at the Indiana Management Performance Hub, learning about data management here with our colleagues at MPH. In June, Jordan represented us at Baltimore and the International Peacemaking Conference. I had the great pleasure of learning about Auditors Investigative Conference with the Office of the Inspector General, and then Eric went over to the Arts Entrepreneur Innovation Lab, which was virtual. Quarter three, Stephanie Filler carries on with the contracting procurement seminar here at our friends of the stage, and we're wrapping up quarter four with Eric, Stephanie Haynes, and Lydia at the IPA Philanthropy Leads Conference here in Indianapolis. Connie, Gwendolyn, and Maya at the AIMS Summit, where they connected with local municipalities and local government officials to help them understand what we do and how they can get involved with more community grants in their communities. Maya and I went over to Dakota Summit in Cincinnati and learned about public art, incorporating those areas and how we can get more of that idea here in local communities. Then we took a trip over across the Atlantic Ocean to my hometown in Puerto Rico with the NASA conference, the National Assembly of START Agencies, where we had the opportunity to connect with other partners and other colleagues that are doing the same thing. So learning what are the current trends, threats, and opportunities available for us to work with them. And then Stephanie wrapped up at the procurement conference with IDOA. And here in November, we wrap it up with Gwendolyn and Lydia with our partners at Ball State. We did learn about community development. Stephanie Haynes with the Indian Association of Public Education Foundation Conference, and then Maya is wrapping us up with the Ball State Arts Agency Summit here in Minneapolis. So that's a little bit about everything that we have done for calendar year 24. Again, an opportunity for us to keep improving and developing ourselves. That was one of our goals that has been current. But how can we be at the better edge of progress and how we can learn about the best, greatest things to do in our field? Any questions from this portion of the presentation?
No questions. Okay, moving along.
Moving on, so next is calendar agency goals, which is everything to talk about. Short and sweet, thanks to you all. Only 3 goals this year. One was develop and implement process improvement and SOPs across the agency. So how do we did that? We transitioned to single payment. Thank God. From 600 payments, we only having to do about 300 and a half. This has been greatly received from staff members. Huge thank out to the operations team, especially to Senator McDonough for getting this along. Grantees have received the payment way earlier than usually. It's been September. Normally they get it about October, early November. So the opportunity that we're able to get the money out of the door and have our individuals do and be able to do the information and things that they need to do as opposed to waiting for us to start doing projects has been game changing. So again, more of the process, especially with the new things that we're trying to do with the different programs. So this is just going to be a great way of expediting getting things done quicker and more efficiently. We're utilizing internal review and versus external review programs. So that's been, again, a great opportunity for us as opposed to having to wait and doing all the review process.
state only process that does that, so it allows us to move a little bit more forward and getting, again, that money, those resources out the door. Early approval process, and I know you all been enjoying that, we're getting the frameworks ahead of time, understanding from a single page what the program does, how much funding it does, operation period, and what titles or things do from our operational standpoint. Offering programs with some partners and reducing administrative burden. So you're going to learn about more what we do in the United Humanities. That's a process about cutting the redundancy and collaborating with other organizations that are doing the same thing that we're doing as well. And then again, continuing to advocate development across our agency, getting faster, better, and stronger. Goal 2, developing implement response plans for targeted investment plan. So Jordan and Eric completing the artist needs assessment, which has been a great hit. Kudos to them for getting this out of the door and developing now a plan of response for both programs and services. Developing a response plan for communities. Lydia, getting back here, starting early in the year and getting all this out of the door. Stephanie, developing an out-of-school time education pilot program. Back again to that co-offer accessibility inclusion plan that we're going to talk a little bit more later. Eric tracking program participation and technical assistant. And then most importantly, tracking KPIs, which we have not been doing in the past, and we're going to make sure that we're better at it to reporting what we're doing. Because we're good about doing the services, but we're not good at talking about what we're doing internally and bragging a little bit, so patting ourselves in the back a little bit. So how we're going to do that and moving on. Goal 3, and the last one is developing and share learnings for programmatic evaluation and research. So we're doing that here today with our friends and partners at UIndy. So talking about the findings from Lilo, Indiana, and again, preparation for statewide audits in next calendar year. Eric and Jordan presenting and posting the results of the artist needs assessment. Again, getting that information out and adapting to the needs of our artists, how we can make our programs better for that. Adopting a program framework to again state programs and outcomes. Reporting findings from AOS and APS grant cycle for fiscal year 24. Producing pattern primary research and qualifying direct local governments and arts. That's something we have to work in with calendar year 25. And last but not least, continuing tracking and reporting for KPIs. Questions about calendar year 24?
Good work.
About calendar year 24.
I love that you just have the 3 goals, so.
That's
kudos.
thanks to you all for allowing us to just be concise about that. So.
Great.
We'll be back again. This chapter continues. The March 2025 QBM will be coming out for the calendar year 25 agency goals. Madam Chair, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good work, team. Next up, programs, grants and services. We are going to hear about the lifelong arts research. Stephanie, take it away.
Thank you so much. I know the folks on Zoom can't see, and I'm gonna trip if I try. You not on camera yet? No, no, just hi. Okay, I'm really excited to share this with you. For those of you who have been on the board for a little longer, will know this is something I've been working on for a few years now. And today I'm going to share with you a culminating point for the creative aging work. But before I get into that, I'm going to give you a little bit of the background, especially for the new folks. In March 2021, we received notification for receiving a $25,000 grant to start a brand new pilot creative aging program. So the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies, affectionately known as NASA, not that NASA, had seen nationally that there was a trend of creative aging work happening in small pockets around the country. But as we all know, the United States and specifically Indiana has a growing older adult population, which is great. And so there's not enough folks, in the national scope, there's not enough folks serving the older adult population through the arts. And it was an opportunity for states to get involved and create new programming for this important demographic. So NASA encouraged many of the states to do this with these small pilot grants. So we took that $25,000 grant in 2021 and 2022 and did a small group of artists, teaching artists who already were experienced at teaching. And we brought in trainers to train them on how to work with this specific population. The best practices, the way to design a program to meet the needs of older adults in a really meaningful and impactful way based on the research. The research and criteria that NASA put forward showed that hands-on skill building learning experiences were the most impactful for this age group. So we formed this as an arts learning program. And we launched it, and it was very successful with these 25 artists with this pilot program. I was getting weekly emails that said, I never knew this could be so much fun to teach older adults. I'm so excited to keep doing this work, from artists, from sites that would say, I've never seen our community be so excited and joyful in their day-to-day. And so I was getting these emails and I knew this work was working. It was going really well. And we had all this experience from the initial 25 projects. We took to our state partners at the Division of Aging. It's a fellow state agency here in the state government building. And we said, do you have any interest in this? We're seeing a lot of great impacts and outcomes from this work. And they said, yes, we really like what you're doing. Obviously, this is looking great, but it also happens that we do have a pot of money that we need spent. So wonderful kismet timing. They love what we're doing and they have funding to support it. So we said, we can help spend that down. They invested about $1 million to scale up the Lifelong Arts Indiana program across the state. And of course, as we know with state government, it had a timeline attached to it. In a little under 2 years, we had to scale up from $25,000 program to $1 million statewide program. All right. Here's one of the original program participants, Peggy Taylor. This is her with her spinning wheel. She's an artist in Westphalia, a very small community down in Washington, around Washington, Indiana. I forget the county name, but southwest Indiana. And she has her own sheep farm. She shears the sheep, she processes the wool, she dyes the wool, she does weavings that are fantastic. I bought one of her pieces, it's so fantastic, but she also does spinning, and she's teaching this group at the senior center how to do some weaving and textile work. So with this major scale up we did in 2022, 23, we started going in a few different directions to see what would work. Hence the chart. There were a lot of logistics with the scale up. And so we had to organize it in some tracks here. And you'll see we have a track for artists on the left. And we had a couple buckets of artists. We had artists that we had already trained. We had new artists we brought into the fold. And then we funded early action grants. Once they got trained on creative aging, which is a fairly new topic across the country, we wanted to make sure people knew how to do this work and do it well. So we provided the training and provided funding so you could go out immediately into the communities and make this work happen. And so we did artists, which was very successful. And then we also wanted to branch out and see how it would work if we funded directly the aging service providers. We also wanted to train them on creative aging so that they knew this was an option and it was research backed, that it's impactful based on the evidence, and we could show them how to find artists in their community and start working with them, hopefully long-term. So the aging service providers include senior centers, assisted livings, YMCAs, libraries were a big portion of this for us. So those places where older adults gather. We provided them training and funding, and they also did projects all across the state. And the third track that we've been trying and are currently doing right now is the arts organization track, where we have asked arts organizations to propose bigger projects that could be sustainable in their communities long-term. We really want them to start to think about embedding work with older adults. Most of them have work for youth embedded in their work. So why not add embedded and older adult services as part of their mission work? And that's what we're trying to explore with the arts organization program. And so along that, on the far right vertical here, there's a research portion of this. So we knew when we were doing the work, it would be fun, it would be impactful, we'd get lots of great photos. But we also needed to show the impact in a way that state government would understand that the impact was real and the impact is here and it's worth investing in long-term. So we hired the University of Indianapolis Center for Aging and Community. They specialize in research around this type of intervention. They've even done some arts and older adults research in the past. So we're really excited to get with them, and they evaluated all these different tracks, all the different aspects, all the way top to bottom on how the program was going and the impacts to the participants. The trainings were all different. We did in-person trainings, we did online trainings, we did full day trainings, and we did shorter trainings. So we tried different things to see what would work. And one of the aspects you'll see in the executive summary of the research is that they helped show us which of the types of trainings were more impactful. And I bring this up to say, she's, Amanda, when I introduce her in a minute, is gonna talk about fidelity to the program. As we trained these folks and gave them the best practices they should follow, they made sure to measure, did these folks follow the best practices that we put forward? Because if the successes are tied to those best practices, we can continue with this vein of training and know that the impact will be there. So she did find high fidelity to our programming, and therefore we know that our training created these results. She'll talk about that in a minute. These are just examples of some really fun programs we have out in the community. Felt wool, felting in Terre Haute. We've got some clay jewelry making in Indianapolis, and we've got weaving in Chesterton, Indiana, and on the right is textile dyeing in Bloomington. We have got still life painting in North Vernon, Indiana. Indianapolis, there's a playwriting group that's really fantastic, and some singing, a singing group in Lafayette. Those are just a small portion of the projects that we had. We covered 44 counties with this funding and this program. With a high percentage of rural, we're really excited to see. We know that where older adults are likely to be found, and we really wanted to make sure that we reached rural communities, and the libraries really helped us with that as well. I will close up my introduction here by just reiterating the goals of the program, and then I'll hand it over to Amanda. So we definitely wanted to improve quality of life for older adults. You know, hopefully that's a given. That this program, we want to improve Hoosiers. And that's what our agency is all about, right? We also wanted to introduce creative aging, as it is kind of a new field, as an important part of aging services, making sure that they know this is impactful if they work with older adults. We want to improve the creative aging programs that are currently happening through training, and we want to create a program model that's effective and replicable. We don't want to keep this to ourselves. We found out that it works. We want to share it out majorly. We want other people to be doing it in all different ways across the state and across the country. And I'll talk more at the end of the presentation about how we are going to do that and send it out into the communities. But now I'm going to introduce Amanda Wolf from the University of Indianapolis to go over the actual research portion.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me today. I am a researcher, not an artist, and nowhere near the brilliant presenter that Stephanie is, so I have notes, sorry in advance. Thank you for the introduction, Stephanie. So I'm Amanda Wolf. I am the Senior Project Director for Center for Aging Community at UND. So we are a Center for Excellence at UND. Sorry, I skipped ahead of myself here. Our mission is to maximize quality of life and the aging experience across the United States for older adults. And we especially aim to do that by bringing academic resources into the community. The key is you will not find CAC in a lab. All of our research takes place in the community. So we are applied. In the past, as Stephanie kind of touched on, we've done a lot of work in Indiana and other states, tying older adult aging experience to arts and to other things. We've been involved with the Pathways Project here in Indiana and in other states, and stakeholder engagement, quality of life studies, other such things. I just want to talk just a little bit about me because I always want to take advantage of an opportunity to give a shout out to older adults who often don't get the attention that they deserve in terms of programming and funding and policy. Their adults over 65 have increased 1,000% in the last century in the United States. The 55+ age group is increasing 6 times greater rate than the under 55 age group. So this is a population we need to be paying attention to. By 2030, 1 in 5 Hoosiers will be over the age of 65. Among US older adults, approximately 25% report being socially isolated. And in central Indiana, according to our studies, 39% of older adults report feelings of loneliness and social isolation. So it's an even larger problem in central Indiana than it is in the US as a whole. And this matters because if you know about mental health, social isolation can lead to feelings to negative physical health, cognitive health, and mental health outcomes. Everything from increased mortality, increased rates of falling, increased rates of dementia, and increased rates of depression. In fact, a lack of social connections increases an individual's risk of death akin to being a daily smoker. So, it's a big deal, and one that doesn't get a lot of attention. Sure. Okay. In Indiana, 23% of older adults between 55 and 64, and 16% of those over 65 have been diagnosed with clinical depression. Among those, of course, I think probably most of us are aware of women have a higher risk, 32% versus 16% men, and households with less than $15,000 of annual income have highest risk with 44% of those members reporting clinical depression. Additionally, 4 out of 10 older adults say that just meeting their daily expenses is a challenge. And that is an Indiana statistic, by the way, not the US. And this matters in our discussion today because low-income older adults are at increased risk for health problems, again, just like socially isolated adults. And this is related, at least in part, to inaccessibility of resources and social networks. If you don't have money, it's harder to get out and be social. And big number here that I want to highlight, in Indiana alone, done by our own Regan Street Institute, untreated mental illness costs the state $4.2 billion annually. But the good news, we know that participating in activities that foster creativity and skill mastery increase our health. So, and that's scientifically proven. So, not my feelings. Although my feelings agree. So we do, of course, have some programs that address older adults. We don't ignore the need. Most of them are national on this list. AARP, hopefully most of us know about AARP, the Community Connections, is providing social resources as well as financial and caregiving. Elder care is like a 2-on-1 for older adults, essentially connecting them to resources, but many of those are not free resources. The OASIS does also have social resources and wellness programming, limitation being it's only in certain cities. Silver Sneakers has fitness and social resources, again, limitation being it's only in certain cities. Also, you must have Medicare to qualify for Silver Sneakers. Friendship Line, it does also have social support services, but is only available through the phone. There's not in person. Meals on Wheels, hopefully most of us know about Meals on Wheels, a really wonderful program. Does also provide social support because people are present in the home when they deliver the nutrition, but also only available in major and mid-sized cities. And then, of course, we have some really fabulous work that I did not do enough justice to being done by local AAAs, community centers, and data centers, particularly here in Indiana. But those, if you worked with many of them, you know, vary quite wildly because they're based on whatever funding those particular regions or individual agencies manage to dredge up. So the social programming is quite varied. So as you may have noticed, as I was going through that list, there are some significant gaps. options for older adult programming and supports are severely limited, mostly by disposable income. If you don't have it, you have less options. Urban versus rural residency, people who live in cities have a lot more options for how to spend their social time and make social connections than those who do not. Of course, because we have limited resources in the US, particularly for older adults, we allocate most of those to basic needs, not to mental health services, particularly social health services. Bless you. We do tend to, as a philosophy in the United States, allocate resources to treatment rather than prevention. So we're not doing a lot on the front end here. And you may notice there was a severe lack of creativity focused activities. Yeah, so Stephanie approached the CIC asking, saying IAC is trying to fill this gap and we'd like to be able to have some solid things we can sink our teeth into, proving that we did just that. We started the evaluation in April 2023, so this has been about a year and a half of work. And our goal was to answer these three questions you see on the board. How successful were the trainings in preparing the artists and aging service professionals to deliver the LLA specific programming to older adults throughout Indiana? How successful was IAC in increasing the availability of that programming in Indiana? And how successful is the LLA model in increasing quality of life overall for older adults? I do want to point out that this study that we conducted was IRB approved, so there were human subjects protections in place from the beginning. It is a longitudinal multimodal study. So we collected quantitative and qualitative data. So we have those numbers that legislators and policymakers can really take their time into. And we got some really feel-good stories. I would say I'm not supposed to have favorites, but I did a lot of the data collection in the study myself, and it was some of the most fun I've ever had. It was just very clear how much fun and how much good was being done in setting after settings. We'll talk a little bit more about that as I go. So objective number one, this is just really quickly the data collection methods. I just want to give you a taste of how the breadth and depth of the data that was collected in the study, because it is significant and you have reason to be really proud. We did evaluations of the trainings themselves from the trainees. We did a knowledge and confidence assessment pre and post to assess difference, change, and we did what are called field observations, where after they started implementing the programs they were trained to provide, we went out and observed them doing those programs to make sure that we were observing fidelity to what they were trained to do. For the second objective, increasing availability, we collected data to that objective through interviews with the trained facilitators. And also through the required final grant reports that the facilitators turned in. There was a qualitative section where they were free to write about their experience and their views. And then for objective three, kind of the heart of the matter for our study, success in increasing the quality of life for older adults. There were three data collection methods here. We used a short form 12 health survey, more on that in a second. A participant feedback survey where they just talked to us about what they thought of their experience in taking the programs. And then we did some participant interviews, some structured. I do want to say that The short form 12 health survey is a nationally validated, reliable tool. We chose this deliberately so that there could be no CSC designed this tool kind of doubts. This is a tool that has been used across the world for various purposes in healthcare and outside of healthcare settings. It is validated both to be a pre and post assessment tool, and you can also just use it post assessment because there is an established populational mean score, so you can use your sample scores and compare to the population scores. So an excellent, well-validated tool. And it is brief, 12 questions, so it did not provide, there was no burden, there was limited burden on the participants. Just a brief look, this gives you the total picture of across the 18 months of all the different forms of data collection that were done and all the different people. The second column is the total population of we were pulling from, and this last column is the sample population. So these are people who participated in our data collection. So as you can see, like, for example, in our SF12, we had 142 participants who voluntarily provided us with the health survey return, which had to be mailed back. It was a bit of work for them, and they chose to do it anyway. 196 of them provided the feedback form. And again, just in and of itself indicating and implying a great deal of enthusiasm. I do also want to point out that you'll see that our sample population were the artists and the ASPs participating in LLA. We have not collected or analyzed any data on participation. More common. Okay, results. The fun stuff. Again, lots of reason to be proud of her, y'all. The big message on objective 1, that there was high efficacy and understanding in the LLA programming of the trained facilitators. 97% of the trained facilitators believe they had gained practical knowledge and could use in their day-to-day work. There was a statistically significant improvement in the mean knowledge score pre to post test for the trained facilitators. And we use a 95% confidence interval, so that statistical significance is pretty impressive in a community setting. And all of our field observations found strong adherence to the LLA module. So. Also, as I'm going through, I put some quotes from the facilitators and the participants on the slides because even in observations when we were supposed to be invisible, we were trying very hard not to be part of the session at all. People would just extemporaneously be like, oh my gosh, you're here to study this program. Will you please make sure you let people know, go back to them, that we love this and we're so happy they're doing this for us. We wouldn't be able to afford to take this any other way, and it's so nice to have this opportunity in our community. We've never had anything like this, et cetera, et cetera. Just very off the cuff. So that I wanted to make sure that I was representing them well and putting this out there to you all, since I promised them I would. Objective 2, again, this increase in the availability of the program. The indication is that we have increased availability of this throughout the state. I lost my train of thought. Literally every single facilitator and participant that we did an interview with, which was 36, I think, if I'm recalling correctly off the top of my head, unanimously indicated that they felt that the course was high quality and very high value to their community. And every facilitator unanimously indicated they felt it was of high value to their profession and their work as well. So like that they grew as an artist as well. So great stuff there. In addition to which, as Stephanie had touched on earlier, it was 44 county saturation, which is pretty impressive for 18 months. 107 trained facilitators participated in our study. And 16 of those 44 counties are designated as rural by the 2020 census. So that's a pretty significant saturation of rural counties where the arts are less available. There were more than 500 older adult residents who participated in this programming. So a pretty significant size of participation. And 97% of trained facilitators indicated that they would share what they learned with other professional artists who were teaching. So that's also pretty amazing. And the third objective, where actually, if you can believe it, we saw what is probably the most significant result of the study. We saw statistical significant change in mental health scores in participants on the SF-12 scores. So the average population mental health score is a 50. And the average participant in LLA programming post-participation was statistically higher. I want to say it was 52 point something, but please don't quote me on that because I have a lot of numbers in my head right now. There also additionally of interest, maybe for future use, is that the physical health score is approaching statistical significance. So while 0.050 is statistical significance cutoff, the physical health score was 0.059. So had we just used a lower confidence interval, sorry, or perhaps done slightly longer interventions, we very well could have seen some physical health statistical significance there as well. So some really powerful results that you could be very proud of here. I want to emphasize too that 95% confidence interval is often designed for a lab setting, community settings. That's really impressive. There are so many other factors that can intervene there, right, in a mental health score for people over a period of 8 weeks in the community. I do also want to point out that we saw that the difference in physical health score and to a degree, the mental health score is housed more significantly among the rural population. So to maximize impact, definitely prioritization could be done in the rural populations because that's where the largest difference is seen, but the difference remains statistically significant among urban populations. And then additionally, we did hour-long, well, what they were intended to be, hour-long interviews with participants about their experience. They almost always ran longer than an hour because they had such lovely things to say. Over and over again, they just said, please give us more. More program options, more often. Let me tell my friends, let me bring people. Let me do this all the time, essentially. And thank you, please. Please give us more. So I just want to make sure I'm emphasizing that they were very appreciative of having this. From our rural participants, we heard it again and again about how lovely it was to have our participatory arts options that they could participate in for free, and that they appreciated that as well. And over again, we heard about how they made friends, that they were keeping post-class. They had formed lunch groups and book clubs, and they were still needing to do the things that they had learned in the class together, and maintaining those friendships and those social circles, which means we hope that they'll maintain the mental health gains. So Stephanie particularly, she specifically requested that we provide lessons learned recommendations because one of the large goals is replicability, and that is why one of the reasons why we chose to do qualitative data collection here. so that we could get in their own words what we could do to keep doing this in the best way possible. So here are some of the themes that were garnered from the qualitative data that we've turned into recommendations. First and foremost, continue LLA program funding. That just came over and over again from facilitators and participants. Please keep paying for this and let us keep doing it. And facilitate the saturation of the programming across the board throughout Indiana. They said everybody should have the option to do this. If you must make prioritizations, we would recommend prioritizing free opportunities for older adults whose disposable income is limited, and prioritizing rural areas because the quality of life impact was even greater. There were some themes in terms of IAC supports, so you can see those here. I won't linger too long on them, but some plug and play supports in marketing and press, because many artists and ASBs said that's not our area of expertise, and so those were the largest challenges for us. And we would love if we to continue to do this, to just maybe have some basic templates. Continue to have a community outreach liaison in the realm of Jordan. Help this time around. Boy, that was another theme. Jordan received so much praise every time I spoke to the facilitators. It's your name came up so much. So large kudos to you. A grant school offering them help so that they can seek funding on their own to continue to do this work. So all of the facilitators were extremely enthusiastic about working with older adults. That was, as a person who has dedicated her professional life to older adults, it was really heartening to me to hear all of these facilitators who were not previously working with older adults, who were like, oh my gosh, I am now in love with this. And I want to keep doing it. And even if I don't continue to get funding through IAC, it would be lovely if I had a little bit of support in finding that funding elsewhere. So I'm a working artist, I can eat. I would love to be able to find enough funding I can continue to do this a bit. So, and then some sort of pamphlet or manual of lessons learned, so that new facilitators can benefit from some of the insight of the who've been there, done that. Facilitators also recommended for future use some lessons in timing and location and being flexible, and accommodations for very wide variety of abilities. And that is another thing I will say that was very impressive in the field observations. We saw artists who were working with, participants who had some severe limitations physically or cognitively in the same class as participants who did not have any limitations and who also additionally had experience in the art form that they were instructing. And so they were managing this very wide range of student in their class, and they were doing it successfully. So, and I think that a lot of that came down to the LLA model. You could see the inaction of the adult learning principles in that. And then they said, bring on an assistant, because that accommodation is much easier if you have a second set of hands. And then from CAC perspective, if future study is ever in the cards, we recommend lengthening LLA programming and seeing if that impacts the physical score, the physical health score. To also concentrate potentially on rural areas and see the impact there, and to do a follow-up survey with the communities who had LLA programming to see if the gains are maintained. These are some recommendations for the trainings that they said would improve it. Most of these were actually enacted before the end of the 18 months, so I'm not going to linger on them because Stephanie and her team did a great job of just sort of moving of taking advice as they went, and we can see the results of that as we went. And that is a very quick overview of a very large study. So thank you for having me. Are there any questions? Because I know I went through that very quickly and it's a lot.
I just want to thank you for this work. I think it's really helpful to tell the story and to have it evaluated by someone who is not an artist and whose work is centered on the population that is being served. To your point where you referenced legislators, it's the kind of thing that would resonate with them and not just, although we in this room believe in art for art's sake and the value of that, to have this kind of data and research on the impact, I think it will be great for the case to be made for this community going forward. So I really appreciate you and your work, and of course, the work that Stephanie and team did on this program.
Well, thank you for letting me do it. I truly had so much fun.
The only quibble I have is that you start the aging population starts at 55.
So I would say wrong, but I think what the numbers, 500 participants, sorry.
Yeah.
576, 567, something like that. Calls per individual.
For individual. I don't have that number off the top of my head.
No, okay, I don't know that.
A lot of the artists did not charge the participants, so a lot of it was free for people to participate.
Really? So taking these classes and doing this whole thing for the last year, it's.
You got in terms of what the investment was.
Yeah, because we spent a lot of it on the training and the research, so half of the funds that we had went to direct programming to folks, the 500 and some folks.
Okay.
Which is a little higher and continuing to grow. The data she had was about 3/4 of the way through the programming, so I anticipate being more like 700 people served for about $500,000.
Okay.
Yeah. Which pays the artists, the most of that funds that we spend on, per participant goes to the artist to deliver the service.
Sure.
And then a small portion is for supplies. We don't see a lot of like administrative fees or anything else on these sorts of grants. They're very much focused on, of the grant,
Training.
80% goes to, of the grant to the artist or the site, 80% goes to the artist as income for the artist. Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Regarding the age thing, I agree with that. I think AARP is now down to like age 21.
They've been contacting me for a while, so.
I know.
I got really mad when it came in the mail. I was so mad, I was like, this is not fair.
Okay, we need to have a whole other training about how we feel about aging. Aging.
Somehow.
We're excited because I'm excited because we're doing this work and I can't wait till I have time to do these activities, and I hope they still exist.
Yes.
And
Just a few years for me.
scientifically speaking, you're healthier if you look forward to aging.
So, okay, I'm so excited.
All right, Eric's got a few more things to close us up and then I'll close this up.
I promise I'll be brief. I wanted to zoom out for a second and talk about how this fits within KPIs. And this, one of the things that's really exciting about this is that use of the SF12 form, quality of life, quality of place. These are usually really mushy sorts of impacts that usually people have trouble defining what that is because it has so many components. So this SF12 form is a big deal, and that was one of the pieces that we were really excited about because it is nationally validated, which means you have population data, like so many people have filled it out. So you can actually really say with a lot of confidence, did this have an impact? And when you hear the term statistical significance, what that means is that it's very unlikely that the change happened by chance. Highly unlikely that that's the case, which means that the lifelong arts intervention with high fidelity to the model, which we found, was prompting that change. So that's what we can infer from that information. And so that is really, really exciting because it starts to put a really tangible change on the quality of impact that we have in our strategic framework. And so we're really talking about that here with this one. So we did see that statistical improvement, and the other piece that we'll be talking about more is the sustaining pieces of this. So are these projects continuing to happen? So we're gonna check in with those arts organizations and continue to keep a pulse on what things are happening around the state following this big investment. And hopefully some of these things have seeded relationships and partnerships where they're gonna continue doing this. So we're gonna also be tracking some of that work as well. And this data, in terms of state arts agency research, this is a really like incredible study. The amount of data, how robust it is, the different methods. This is a top tier piece of work that I think we're gonna be able to take a long way. And Stephanie's gonna talk a little bit more about how this is gonna be shared out, but this is a really gold star project for state arts agency research, and it's really incredible. It involves so many people to make it happen, so it's just really awesome, really excited about this. That's all for me.
Okay, Eric gave me this, this graphic that's really that's really interesting to say that in Indiana, this is specifically Indiana, we know that our aging population is growing, or our older population is growing, we're all aging. Where the older population is growing, they're gonna be a significant part of our communities, and we need to be ready to serve them. So I'm gonna get to what you were saying, Mark, and I'm gonna keep digging in after this about more about that cost benefit, but I do wanna pull out what Amanda said, that we know there's a lot of costs that goes into treating these mental health issues on the back end after they happen. But the Lifelong Arts Program, the 4.2 billion of cost, the Lifelong Arts Program, if we invest for preventative purposes, was less than $1 million total. So we have found this really effective way. We're hoping other people will get on board. Please spread the word. This is a really effective way, and it will help our state out and improve quality of life for everyone. The last thing I'm gonna say is talk about what comes next, right? So we can continue programming, and we will eventually, but we're gonna take a moment now that we have the research and we have all these 100+ project examples. And we're gonna create some package materials that can help other people replicate the work. We're gonna send out how-to guidebooks. We're gonna make video and case studies that other people can replicate this work. And we're gonna let everyone know about the good work that's being done here by the Indiana Arts Commission. So we're gonna communicate and replicate out. We already did the question and answer, but if you have any questions, let me know.
Only suggestion I would have, thinking about the mental health aspect of this, which in my job, I've done a lot of connecting to people on mental health success stories. We should work on getting a meeting with Jay Chaudhry, who used to run DMHA and is now a fellow at Stanford working on mental health. And frankly, if it was the two of you presenting on the data piece in this, I think I'd like, if we can think about making that happen in the first quarter of next year.
Thank you.
So I wanna, and Stephanie's done phenomenal work in this presentation and through this project, and so appreciate Amanda coming alongside and all the great research. Stephanie shared a little bit about what's next that is being funded through FSSA, right? Because research was funded through FSSA, so we're thankful to them for supporting that piece of it, as well as the communications packaging and the share out that Stephanie's talked about. But we've ginned up a lot of interest in this now. We've done that, right? We've stirred the water. We got people excited. We got artists trained. We've got aging service providers. We've got arts organizations who are excited about this. So now, right, we do want to take a moment to package and share, but we also need to be thinking about how we're going to serve this interest that we've ginned up as a result of our work. So a couple of things I'll just share with you about how we're thinking about that. This first, in our National Endowment for the Arts partnership grant request, we've requested some additional funds that the National Endowment for the Arts is going to make available in the arts and health space to build on some of this work, to continue to offer some grants. We anticipate we may see some aging service providers or arts organizations or others through the Arts Project Support Program that opens up in January. We may see some applications come through that. But we're also at the same time, we're thinking about this packaging and sharing the work, thinking about how we could come back to FSSA or the Department of Mental Health or others in state government to help us fund a continuation of this work. Because although absolutely we don't want to be the only ones doing it and providing it, I do feel some obligation to kind of help figure out how we can can provide some continuing funds to support this in some way, shape. It may take some real partnership conversations amongst other agencies or others outside of state government, but we don't want this work to kind of stop because we're no longer funding it directly. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there to let you know that we're thinking about that as well, and all the great input that Amanda received around keep it going. We want to try the best we can to meet that. Because frankly, we brought it on, right? So we need to deliver.
Can I add something real quick, just to clarify, funding from FSSA, but also funding through the state budget agency, through the US Department of Treasury.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we have to acknowledge that, and also funding from NASA and EA Michael's philanthropy that helps
Yeah.
the large organizations. I just want to put that on the record.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It might be worth our time to send this to economic development agencies within rural counties. As those conversations continue to go, we have 70 something. Everybody wants to get younger and everybody wants population to continue to come into their rural community. And I think there is some shift in those conversations about, we also need to have a very robust place for seniors to go. Now, maybe they're just trying to recruit me, but seniors to go to be vibrant in our community and to invest in those things. I think economic development agencies would do well to say this would be a good place for investment.
I agree with that,
Great, okay. It is 10:12. We're gonna take a brief break. God, just be realistic, we'll come back at 10:25. Oh, you've already decided, great.
It's not very decided.
And during the get some snacks. Be back here at 10:25. Commissioner Bolser?
Yes, I'm trying.
Commissioner Maxwell?
On, in, locked in.
Back. Stalling while we make sure we get the. We're not advancing. I'm blaming Andre.
Okay.
There we go.
I did that, let's see.
Stephanie.
Good. So, sorry, you gotta hear me again, one more time, very short. We're gonna talk about the accessibility partnership with Indiana Humanities and the pilot grant funds that we are requesting you all to approve today. I am excited to bring Lydia Campbell-Mayer into this work. And she comes from a background of accessibility at Art Mix, joining us from the Art Mix organization, which specializes in accessibility in the arts. So as I've been the accessibility coordinator for almost 8 years now, I'm very excited to have a co-pilot in this work. And she's taken on this new initiative, partnership in a fantastic way. So I'm going to start with the history, as that's where I'm at, and she will move forward with the rest. So we just celebrated 5 years of having an accessibility in the Arts Advisory Committee. 5 years ago, we saw that one of the best practices the National Endowment for the Arts encourages is to have a committee of folks with disabilities that help advise on your programming and the arts community as a whole. So 5 years ago, we put together this committee. They are outside consultants that come from all different backgrounds in the disability community, and they help us look at our grants. Are we being accessible with the work we're doing, with our applications? And they also help us say, what does the arts field need as a whole as we provide support to organizations and artists across the state? So they'll help suggest webinar topics, guest speakers, and other things we could do to reach out into the community. One of the things we've talked about beyond webinars is starting another. Historically, we've had some grants along the way, but in the last decade or so, we haven't had any grants specific to accessibility. So one of the things the advisory committee suggested is that we look at funding for accessibility related things. When I put forth a few different ideas to the advisory committee, we could do capital expenses like we need a ramp, we need an elevator. That's kind of a need that has to do with accessibility that I hear from organizations a lot. Those would be larger grants, a few grants, larger to do big physical projects. We could do site visits and do consulting on hire consultants to go to sites and tell them all the things they might need as a report on things you can do to improve accessibility at your site. That was another idea we had. And the third idea was small grants, quick action grants. You need $500 to hire an interpreter for one performance you're doing. You need a temporary ramp for a one-day festival that you're putting on that is in a space that's not accessible. So those things, as I presented them, the advisory committee really honed in on those small action grants. They said, yes, this is what we need. When we need accessibility, we need it now. We need a quick turnaround. And we don't need a huge investment. We want lots of people to have access in lots of places around the state with these smaller grants. So over the last couple of years, Paige and I have been mulling this over. How can we start to implement this? And Paige, our previous director of programs, had said, I was talking with Indiana Humanities. She had coffee with them and said, Indiana Humanities wants to do small action grants for accessibility. And we were like, we want to do small action grants for accessibility. So then started this conversation about, can we partner? Indiana Humanities has always been very similar to us. Instead of state government, they're an independent nonprofit, but they serve the whole state. They work with the National Endowment for the Humanities, very similar in a lot of ways. And as humanities starts to bleed into the arts around literature and poetry, we always have very similar grantees in our grantee pools. So with all that information, we said, let's try and partner. And so our grantees can have one application and one location to go and get these grants. And then when Lydia joined us, she really took this and ran with it. And I'm going to let her talk more about where the partnership's going.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Stephanie and Paige did a really wonderful job laying the foundation for this partnership. So I'm really happy to come in and help bring it to the finish line. So our proposal is to create a new pilot partnership with Indiana Humanities to offer low barrier grants to arts organizations that will improve arts accessibility and humanities accessibility around the state. We will be working with Indiana Humanities, who will actually be administering the grant process. So as Andre was talking about some efficiency work in our agency, this is a way that we can kind of streamline the process, work with them, and we'll be providing them with a partnership for the funds. The grants would be eligible to 501c3 tax exempt organizations, K through 12 schools, colleges and universities, public libraries, churches and government entities in Indiana. And this is a pilot, so we will be keeping track of who applies, what their needs are and what kinds of requests they're making. The goal is really to connect people and communities with opportunities to create and experience the arts and humanities, and all of this aligns with our strategic framework impacts of reaching new populations of Hoosiers and having providing our arts providers with expanded opportunities to enhance quality of life in communities. In Indiana, according to the CDC, 1 in 3 adults has a disability. So we actually are seeing that rate increase, which might also align with what we see in aging populations. Everyone in this room has the opportunity, I guess, to have an accessibility need at some point in their lives. So it's a very important program. The access and inclusion activities that we are going to be open to supporting are listed here. Utilizing American Sign Language interpreters, translating texts into other languages, including ASL, Braille, producing materials in large print or Braille, purchasing or renting tools or equipment such as portable ramps to improve physical accessibility. We are also thinking about all the forms of accessibility here, so adjusting lighting and sound system to better serve audience with sensory needs or people who are neurodiverse. Providing childcare, offsetting transportation costs, such as transit for people with disabilities, which is a very big need. Increasing marketing promotion to underserved audiences, so making sure that people know that their arts spaces and humanities spaces are welcome for all. And some more cool, innovative things like 3D printing of artwork for tactile exhibits. Just an overview of the grant details. We're aiming to open this in January 2025. The grant would run on a rolling basis, so people can apply at any point. We give them about a 6-week turnaround to get their approval, and we're able to do that quick turnaround because we're partnering with Indiana Humanities, who already has this system in place, who already is, they're already equipped and skilled at doing this rolling grant process. And we will use those funds until December 31st, 2025, or until expended. So if we get tons of applications in the first 2 months, then we'll revisit and see what's going on. The grant awards amount are up to $1,000. So that amount came directly from the Accessibility Committee, who reviewed the initial draft of the framework, who reviewed the proposed budget amount, which was $500. They said, we actually need more to make an impact. ASL interpreters alone can cost about $200 for an event at a minimum. So we will be providing an investment of up to $20,000 with your approval. Indiana Humanities will be matching that investment with the $20,000. So there'd be a $40,000 pool. And there was a question of program grants and services. The intention is $20,000 will go to arts and $20,000 will go to humanities. And then, as mentioned, these are the eligible applicants. This is an overview there of what I've kind of already talked about, and Stephanie's talked about, of the partnership details, the nitty-gritty. We will be doing that $20,000 pilot contribution. We'll be providing the initial grant guidelines review by our accessibility committee. So in the disability community, there's a lot of talk about nothing about us without us. And so this is really important that we've had this reviewed by people who identify as self-advocates. And we will be collaboratively editing the application guidelines, participating in a grant webinar as it kicks off, reviewing the arts-based applications so people can choose if they're arts or humanities on the application, and we'll be with the support of our wonderful comms team doing some cross-promotion of the grant opportunity. The great news is Indiana Humanities is going to provide all the grant administration through their online application portal. They also use Found It, which we use, which makes things very easy. They'll be actually cutting the checks to folks, and they will be collecting the final grant reports, which we will have access to all of this information. They will be housing the marketing communication, which also is a tool for efficiency. They'll review all the humanities-based applications. We're working together on editing. They're matching our contribution dollar for dollar. And then there's, they will provide us with whatever they said, it's the financial and evaluative reporting that we need for Indiana Arts Commission. And they, again, Stephanie said, work with the National Endowment for Humanities. So they are very comfortable with detailed reporting, and they're wonderful partners in this. So just an overview of kind of how we see reviewing this pilot. We'll be conducting a mid-year analysis of the grant application demand at the end of this, so in July 2025, so the beginning of the next fiscal year. And then we'll be collecting final grant reports for every single grant awarded. That includes detailed expenditures, reporting the outcomes, and what they did with accessibility and inclusion. We're providing a follow-up survey with applicants regarding their need for future or expanded programming, and also have a post-pilot meeting with Indiana Humanities so we see how this partnership may or may not move forward depending on how the pilot goes. And then we'll plan to present all this information to you in March 2026 QBM, which means that people can have gone through an entire grant cycle. They'll have a year to spend the grant funds, so we'll actually have some good data of what they've used the grant for. All right, so do we have any questions? This is a photo from one of our already existing grantees, which you saw earlier, folks from Kid Dance Outreach who do a flow program for youth who use wheelchairs for mobility aids. And they may or may not be folks who need access to programming like this. And so I'm going to leave the floor open to questions, and then there'll be a request for your approval.
Great, just one question. Can you provide an update at our June QBM just of the application demand at that point, just to give us an idea of how that's going?
Absolutely.
That would be great.
Yeah, we get all everybody in. That's my hope. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, I will entertain, this is an action item. We have a proposal before us. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If you'll call the roll, please, Austin.
Absolutely. Raina?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Greg? Aye. Walter?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Kelsey?
Aye.
Renee?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Azizi?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Jake?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Lydia, you are next.
All right. So I'm going to talk about more wonderful things, every county funded. Yeah, gosh, I have a good job. Every county funded, for folks who want a refresher, is a program that was started this year. And it was a program designed to focus on counties that were not receiving our core grant program. So counties that were not receiving arts project support or arts organization support. These are the counties that were included for the calendar year 2024, and all of this goes in line with our long-term framework impact that in every Indiana county, people and communities have access to arts experiences. The entire reason that every county funded was able to be brought to us is through a budget increase through the General Assembly. So thank you for that. What do we mean when we talk about underrepresented or underinvested in? I tend to use both of those terms throughout this presentation. And again, counties that are not successful, homes to successful applicants. So sometimes we have had people apply, but maybe they need more technical assistance. They often are organizations that are run by volunteers. So we really wanted to work on creating access for all these communities. Organizations here are defined as nonprofits, libraries, and units of government. This is driven by our bold IAC vision of arts everywhere, every day, and for everyone in Indiana. Every county funded is designed to identify allies. So that's a lot of the work I do, is to reach out to communities in partnership with some of our existing allies, existing staff, existing regional art partners, identify folks who would like support. Oftentimes we see that arts are already happening in counties and they're not receiving these public dollars. We're providing them with a simple process to access state funds, to succeed, and then to grow in future capacity to access state funds, connect communities through an informal cohort so they know that they are not alone in this process. And then a big part is providing ongoing support and mentorship through communities, through technical assistance, and just sometimes chats on the phone. Activities to date, we had 15 counties and 1 community identified in fiscal year 2024 who needed access to IAC support. We used 2 complementary initiatives to work to reach them. Every county funded low barrier grant program, which I'm talking about now. And this was complemented as well with our Creative Convergence program, which is a capacity building training program for communities. 6 counties received the Creative Convergence grant and the training program. And then the 10 additional communities received low barrier grants. And they received additional coaching. All of them received additional coaching and grant review. And 100% of the applicant organizations have not previously received an IAC grant. These are our grantees for the low barrier every county funded grant program. Listed here by county and region. I like to highlight Mount Air as a town of 122 people, 123 because they just had a new birth in town. The Perry County Library is doing a very cool thing with building a musical playground. So we see a variety of art forms happening here. Blackburn County is doing a film camp for youth. And then Vermilion County, I'll let you hear directly from Morgan Lutz, who's the Purdue Extension 4-H coordinator for Vermilion County, is creating a program called Play and Connection that's bringing youth and adults together to create together. And her quote from her application: "In our modern world, it is vital to cultivate spaces that nurture creativity and foster mental health. We propose the establishment of Play and Connection, a ceramic studio space dedicated to providing youth and adults with a therapeutic outlet through the transformative power of art. Our goal is to create an inclusive environment where individuals can explore their artistic expression, build communities, and prioritize their mental well-being through the hands-on practice of pottery. My hope is that this initiative will positively impact the entire community. Even if we improve the mental health and well-being of a small percentage of our community, it will create a ripple effect, benefiting others and strengthening the community as a whole." So these kind of small investments can, I think, and hope, make a big impact. And we're hearing that from the folks that we're working with as well. Vermilion County has been one of our most challenging counties to serve. So we all have good news to celebrate as end of the year this year in calendar year 2024. The work of this entire team has meant that every county, all 92 counties in Indiana received it. Pause on the good note. Well, and then we'll reflect a little bit about what we've learned so far. So as I said, there's a high number of first-time grantees in this pool. It requires a lot of additional technical assistance. Sometimes a lot of kind of like, yes, this looks great, you could do it, submit that grant, which I love because grants are scary, right? And we've seen the value of direct outreach and relationship cultivation through this pilot year. We also see counties and communities leveraging their grants for additional support. So Perry County is one example where they were able to get a private foundation to match their dollars to make it bigger playground. And then we are also seeing, very importantly, the fluid status of being an every county funded target community. So this means that folks can move on and off the list as their grant cycles end in our core programs of arts project support and arts organization support. We are in fiscal year 2025 currently, and we have had a few counties move again onto the list. So calendar year, everybody's got a grant, but our fiscal year, we still want to make sure that they're getting grants. So my approach and our approach to that is building resilience, which we want to make sure that we're not investing in only one organization in each county, but just like good financial investment, we're going to make sure that we're reaching a lot of different organizations. We have, as I mentioned, 5 counties that have joined the Every County Funded list here: DeKalb, Noble, Montgomery, Rush, and Pike. And what I'm proposing, and I'll move to our framework, is that we do another cycle of funding for these counties. Any questions about that before I move to the framework?
Keep going.
Okay. Good work. Yeah. So we are doing another round of funding, low barrier grants. It's an invitation only grant program. It is again with the same frameworks here, same goals to identify partners, providing them with this low access, easy access, and a simple process that they can succeed and grow. Goal here again is to build resilience within the counties. Our outcomes are the same. In every county we're reaching folks, and arts providers are having expanded opportunities to enhance quality of life. Eligibility is the same as it was in the previous cycle of this. So 501c3 organizations, local county units of governments and libraries. It is invitation only to organizations that are located in these counties. So as we can fund maybe up to 3, we can fund up to 3 organizations in each of these counties. The counties with the asterisks are those who have moved on to the target list. So they would be my top priority to reach. In all the counties without asterisks, I already have an existing contact. So these are my first approach here, my first top priority. And the timeline here, the application will be due in March of this year. It's a quick turnaround. It's an internal review process, so we can get back to them by April. And then we'll have a grant period of June 1st, 2025 through May 31st, 2026. The grant award is up to $5,000 and done through internal staff review. Notable changes is we are reducing the grant size from $10,000 to $5,000. And this decision is based on risk assessment for smaller arts organizations, organizational capacity who have lower operating budgets to begin with. And then my hope is the eventual transition from this program into our core program of arts project support, which is a $4,000 grant. So that $5,000 to $4,000 step down doesn't feel as hard as that $10,000 to $4,000 step. Each county is eligible for up to 3 grants from 3 different organizations. And we are moving from the 2-payment model to the 1-payment model, which we talked about earlier. And I really think that this helps with access for organizations. It doesn't require them to upfront the cash and reimburse after their grant final report gets processed and so on. Evaluation for this program is aimed at assessing the efficacy and the future of it. So verbal and written feedback from grant recipients, a formal survey, and are looking at our final grant reports where we collect data. And then I am planning again to present out a September 2026 quarterly business meeting on this. Okay. These blue dots are the counties for fiscal year 2025, and I'm presenting this for your approval and open to questions.
Any questions?
Can I ask, okay, so when you're pitching this idea to these counties, are you on the phone? Are you pretty much doing the same pitch every time? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I wondered, I just wondered if it would be easier to say, to make a video of you saying, here's what we're offering. And share it with those communities. Then you can send it to me and I can go, hey, check this out. And you could be sitting there going, here's what we're gonna do, and here's what we're planning to do, and to help you in your community, right? As opposed to making 15 phone calls, I send 15 emails and it's done, or you, or whomever. I just wondered, I didn't know how you did this. So I always think about it. I think the efficiency of anything in this entire world is the most incredible thing. Partnering with other people and allowing them to take over some of the work, like we're gonna do with the last thing with the humanities, arts. No, sorry.
Accessibilities.
Yeah, I like that, you know, get somebody else to do the work, heavy lifting, right? I mean, I'll be honest, I think you guys, I have so much respect for what you guys do. And meaning the people that work really to do this. Yeah, I'm over here just, I'm watching it happen, and it's been this whole year of me just kind of watching you guys do what you do, and it blows my mind, right? There's a lot of heart in it, there's a lot of, it's incredible. But I also don't want to see anybody doing the same thing over, you know what I'm saying? I think efficiency of time is hugely important, in my opinion of life. So I didn't know how you pitched it.
Yeah.
Anyway, rabbit hole,
That's
I go to.
Interesting point of feedback. I do share the guidelines with everybody. They're approved with everyone, but I do think it's important to make that direct connection.
I think so too.
Building trust.
Yeah.
These communities, and when I send a video, it might be likely to get put into their site.
Well, I don't know, but I can just tell you right now that come on. I'm a weird dude. I'm a creative dude. That this maybe or may not be completely ingested. But I just heard you talk about something. And everybody that's been up here, Stephanie and yes. I'm like, wild by that. Like that speaks to me, because in a minute or two, you can tell me what's happening. And I think that me watching somebody kind of say, hey, if you want to be a part of this, this is what this is, and this is what it could mean to your community, right? I don't know. I guess a piece of paper to me is just so informal and has no heart. You just had a lot of heart saying that, right? And so did Steph. You could tell it, you could feel it. And so this is what we are. Art is heart, right? There's your slogan for next year. You're welcome. It'll be $10,000. Any money? Dang, fuck.
It's all right. I want to just jump in and say a couple of words about Lydia's position and kind of how we think about the work that she does and how she approaches it. Having a community, this is a new position for us. We have had on the list to have a community-based person since I joined the commission almost 10 years ago. And now we finally have one. And we knew when we established the position and sort of began to iterate with Lydia what the work portfolio was going to look like. Every county fund has been on my want list now for several years, and some of the other communities were as well. But we knew that Lydia's work would look a little bit different than some of our other program directors' work, in that it's slow going and it's relationship building, and we're less about. I appreciate the comment about efficiency. We're about that. Talk about it, but for our underinvested places, sometimes they haven't applied to us because maybe they don't trust us, maybe they don't know us, maybe government was scary, grants are scary, all that. And so in a way, what Lydia's doing, and not in a way, Lydia's building relationships and building trust in us, and trust and confidence in them that they can do. And sometimes you need that person on the phone, and there's multiple phone calls and all that sort of thing. And so I appreciate the desire to use Lydia's time more efficiently,
Yeah, but listen, what she's doing is working.
Yeah.
It obviously worked. The last time we sat down, as I said right here,
Yeah.
what she's done is work. I'm not, I just, I love seeing somebody.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, let's
Right.
also add
Out there.
real quick, goes way more than a phone call, right? We are in the grounds, Maya, Lydia, locked in miles to go and visit and meet in person with these
Mm.
communities, have a coffee, have lunch, explain what we're doing, explain the offering that we have right now and
Yeah.
building that connection, because if that connection's not happening, that's how we're getting all these people repeat right now. So it's going way more about that phone call, way more about email, meeting them where they are, as opposed to us in a position where we are right now, having them come to us.
Yeah, I hear it, for sure.
Raina?
Well, it's working. So congrats, but.
Two commissioners.
Listen, when I see you guys do this, it just speaks to me immediately. This never happens.
Thank you. There's a good part of that though, about different ways of accessing knowledge, right, or accessing information, and not everyone wants to learn from my long email, right? And so somebody might wanna watch a video to see that I'm legit, right? So that, I think.
See, the thing, I'll read deeper if I'm at all interested, or if it all goes, wow, they do care. It's so hard to read something for me personally and get it. I'd rather you pitch me, give me your 60-second pitch, right? That's what I, and so maybe some people do. What do you think?
Well, I thought both ideas are good, but yeah, people are trying to respond to, so.
Go ahead.
Sure, Raina, thank you. Two Commissioners Maxwell's point, one, commend you for making those relational outreaches, because that is time and energy, et cetera, across a large swath of land and a lot of people. But I think part of what I heard your desire being is to allow this group of commissioners to be able to help pitch that work to people that might be beyond your reach.
Yeah.
And that we're all weird, creative people are weird. You know, we have certain time and attention spans for different kinds of things. And so I guess what I was hearing was, in addition to that personal outreach, to be able to provide a tool to help us also make that outreach. And oftentimes it's more accepted to be able to send a quick, almost like a reel style video, you know what I mean? REEL, just in case that there are some AARP members in the. They said.
Haven't been me, I don't know what you're talking about.
But, you know what I mean, like that kind of content, where it's just like, hey, even if it's just a Facebook Live of the exact same thing you can show to people, where we can grab that link and just say, hey, here it is. Cause I mean, I get like the efficiency, I get the need for inefficiency and personal touch. But I mean, if we can help spread the word in as effective a way as possible, let us do that. And, or it'd be nice to be able to do that and let them look at your beautiful face and hear you talk about it, which just feels much more personal than sending them the PDF.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, great. It's a team effort, right?
Yeah.
And you're all here representing the states.
Great discussion. We have before us an action item. Is there more? Is there more, Chad?
I raised my hand.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And I actually was saying almost the exact same thing, which is use us in counties that you're struggling in, that we have contacts.
Great, thank you. Yeah. Okay, we have before us framework for consideration. Do I have I will entertain a motion to approve. So moved.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Austin, will you call the roll?
Yes, I will. Raina.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Kelsey.
Aye.
Renee.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Azizi.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Lori.
Aye.
Jake.
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries. Thank you, Lydia. Next up, Jordan. Presentation on the on-ramp evaluation.
Hello, everybody. First, before I jump into the on-ramp evaluation, I just want to thank you for your engagement with the artisan assessment in June and September. Just a quick update on the artisan assessment in our new programs. Eric and I have wrapped up a series of webinars with our facilitators, our artist facilitators, general population in our RAPs to kind of give them an overview of the results, findings, and new programs. It was well received amongst those three groups, and we are on our way to our first program, Work in Progress Exchange Labs. I'm having a series of 4, 2 already concluded orientation sessions with our leads. Those organizations being Valpo Creative Council that'll represent the northern region, New Harmony Project for the southern region. Eastern is Richmond Art Museum, and Western is Green Castle Arts Council. So they're really engaged, excited. We're getting schedules together. We'll roll that out in our newsletters and on our website page. If you didn't check out the report, it's on our website as well. Artist Alert. All right, with that being said, a part of that artist needs assessment involved our own RIP evaluation. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about why history, why it's being evaluated, and how it kind of filters into the rollout of the other 6 programs. So with that being said, the framework for the ORMIT program was 2 parts: business education to be able to prepare artists for a portfolio career in order to develop small businesses within artists across the state. We partnered with Minerva Financial Arts with Dr. Elaine Morgan-Luttrell to do that. The 3-day workshop, the program itself works on 6 different modules, asking them these questions: what do you do? What do you serve? Kind of talking about marketing to their customer and clients, and helping them realize their value as artists, as well as how to monetize and capture either their practice, skill, or whatever they're serving, or their artistic discipline, and then applying that through the fellowship that they have the opportunity to do. So I also wanted to show you guys the progression of the program since it started in 2018. We've had 3 different leaderships, as well as really 4. We had one contractor, Amy Olson. She's a musician herself in Bloomington, kind of contract between Anna and I with the leadership of Paige as well. In 2021, we had local cohorts as well with these different numbers of individuals. And then we've always had a local host as well. And we also partner with Indiana Small Business Development Center for additional funding to kind of cover those local cohorts. You'll see in 2020, it was paused because of COVID, but then we came back in 2021 with the central cohort and the local cohorts. So the 3-day workshop, we get a number of interest applications to participate in the cohort. We have a review committee that scores the applications. And with those scores, I review them and recommend a cohort. The workshop is fast-paced, information overload. You can see the look on their face from all the information they receive. But we really focus on networks and connections amongst the artists themselves. Wherever the workshop is hosted, we focus on community immersion within that community. So the hospitality from the meals they eat, as well as the activities they participate in, is really focused on that local community. And then we, as IAC staff and Dr. Luttrell, we give them fellowship advisement on the application they'll submit on their project. So fellowship timeline. So after that 3-day workshop, again, fast-paced, they have a week break. It's like summer break, but we can do a webinar after that week to go over guidelines and expectations of their project. We asked them to give us a week ahead of the proposal to be able to review. We've generally done that, just the program manager reviewing their applications, but this cohort year, we did a coach suite with past participants being able to review their applications and give them feedback and advice. Proposals due, we do panels. I would like for our researcher to tell us not to do panels. We do a lot of panels. We notify them of their awards, and then the initial payment is made, and we do 2 payments as well, just because of the attrition rate with these individuals. But yeah, and then their final payment is made after the report is due. Ready? So after the current standing, so our 2024 cohort is in their implementation phase of their grant period. I already have somebody trying to submit their final report. Yay, I think. But current evaluation practices, Minerva Financial Arts does the CARE model, and that stands for Knowledge, Action, Intentional Results. So after they RSVP with their notification that they'll participate in the cohort, they do kind of do a temperature check of their knowledge, where they're at in their practice. We do a post-workshop survey to kind of see where their knowledge has moved just because of the workshop. And then we do a 1-year survey after the fellowship as well. But as far as production and partnership evaluation, we only have one debrief meeting with the partner, the local host, to see how we felt about the 3-day workshop. But there's no extensive evaluation past that. With that being said, that's how we're running things as is now. But we have submitted, we have acknowledged a request for qualifications. And that has been open almost a month. It'll be open until January 10th. We're asking for a letter of interest, description of the interested parties, framework, philosophy on research, any case studies or samples of their work they have, and then a budget proposal of how they use the funds to conduct the research as well. And we're basically asking those evaluators to see how the cohort members have advanced their careers, and their connections and profitability as artists. We're asking to see the short and long-term benefits with the partners for their local communities, being a partner with us through that workshop, and then how the program can be improved overall for the experience of the artists and the production of the program, and then how it can be replicated at a local level to connect back to our artist needs assessment, which I can show you that. Here's the dates. The ORMIT program will be back into the communities with the local cohorts we did in the past in 2021. Under the new program design that evaluator suggests. And so this is how the new programs are rolling out over the next 3 years. But also, to Greg's point in our committee meeting, I wanted to show you how the pipeline will go with these suites for artists to matriculate through our different programs. And you'll see ORMIT being in the business development suite with these different programs. And how the local liaisons will be able to host not only the work in progress exchange labs, but also ORMIT as well. That was quick, fast, in a hurry. Any questions?
Great, sorry. Just was saying, well done.
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
And we need more people to submit to the RFQ.
Yes, we do. The ORMIT RFQ is on the ORMIT landing page. We can send that to you guys if you would like to share the Google submission form. And if you have any suggestions and you want me to just send it to them myself, let me know if those people. Thank you.
Thank you. This is an unusual meeting that Maya has not really.
I know.
We haven't seen much of you yet.
You're gonna get a little of me, but just a little bit. But first I want to say that this meeting's been a great example to sort of illustrate the life cycle of programs and kind of how we think about our work here at the IAC. You heard from Stephanie Haynes first about program evaluation and the impacts that the program has achieved in its period. You also have heard from Jordan around an evaluation we're about to conduct on a program that's been going for 5 years, and we want to see how it's going. Is it doing the things we thought it needed to do? Is it creating the kinds of impacts that we wanted to see? And then you heard from Lydia and Stephanie about a pilot program, the Access Grant that we'll be doing with Indiana Humanities. So that's just kind of a window in how we think about sort of program work here at the IAC, is that we've got a couple of core programs, arts organization support and arts project support, that we we keep going. We evaluate them as they're going, but we're also comfortable in situations like OnRamp, where we actually are going to pause a very popular, beloved program for a year to take a look at it to see if it's doing what we want it to do. And we'd be remiss in our work here at the IAC if we weren't continually checking in on programs to see if they do what we want to see them, the impact we want to see them have. So anyway, just wanted to sort of put some of this, because this is a little unusual meeting in that we're having sort of all 3 stages in that process, sort of as part of the agenda. That doesn't always happen. So very briefly, Regional Arts Partner Network Evaluation. In a previous episode, I discussed, the process that we are going through, another evaluation process, for our regional arts partner network. And just as a reminder, our regional arts partner network are the 11 partners across the state that we work with that help us in technical assistance and capacity building across the state. Helps us meet that goal of broad access across the state. This program's been in effect since 1995. Probably a moment to take a look and see how it's working. You heard last June from Neil Cuthbert, who was the consultant that we brought in from the McKnight, previously with the McKnight Foundation, to take a look at the partnership program and give us some recommendations about how to move forward. Briefly, he said, works in some ways, and there's some ways, some areas that it needs to be strengthened. And so he had essentially 3 recommendations for us. First, to kind of dig back in as an agency and determine what we want this program to achieve, what we want this partner network to do as a network. And then second, phase 2 is design an approach, as in if we want to continue it, design an approach that we'd like to see occur. And then third, test that approach in the current environment. Do we have partners who can do the things that we want to have done? And so where we are right now is internally over the summer, staff got together and talked a bit about, well, really, what's our vision? We've had this network since 1995. In the before times, it did 100 things. Things have changed. Our ability to invest in it has changed. In the moment, what's our vision for the program, for the network? And then what do we want to see? What are the desired outcomes of having a regional network? What kind of changes are going to happen as a result? So we came up with 3 bullet points for each. How neat. First, our vision is to have a network that facilitates broad access to IEC's programs and services. Arts everywhere, every day for everyone in Indiana, right? So broad access. Number 2, representative and responsive to the people, organizations, and communities in each region. Why have a regional network if there isn't a sort of a tailored regional approach and or regional consideration of needs and opportunities, right? Last bullet, operates at a level appropriate to meet state government expectations for constituent service. And what I mean by that is our regional partners and our arts organization support and our arts project support, our 2 biggest grant programs, they are our technical assistants in the field. Constituents, applicants in their region, contact them. We hope, if things work well, first for technical assistance and questions about our programs, if it works well, right? And we've got to make sure we have a consistency of service across the state. Otherwise, one region may be getting A+ and another region might not be, right? If we're going to have a regional network, it's got to work the same across the state. Desired outcomes that we'd like to see as a result of having a regional network, because we're one of very few states that do this. Most states do not have sort of this regional network system established. IEC's programs and services experience levels of engagement indicative of broad access. Now we'll have to think about what those indicators might look like. But we know we want to have broad access. We've already said that. Desired outcome number 2, partner mission. The partner's mission and programmatic efforts reflect regionally based identity, connection, and planning. They are embedded in their region. They are doing work in their region. And then the last desired outcome is constituent service is consistent across the state. So that's sort of the baseline that we've said, we're going to do this. Here's what we want. And again, we chatted a little bit with the partners about this yesterday, but it's kind of a baseline that we're going to sort of start the next phases. So what's next? We're going to start work internally to design an approach and test whether or not it's achievable in current reality. We may say we want X, but can we actually achieve X? Is X even possible in the current environment? Based on capacity of potential partners, current and potential partners, financial realities, time, all the limited resources that are out there. We'll be working toward recommendations for the commission, and we hope to have them ready for you to talk about in March 2025. I just said hope. It's a big conversation. We also have two big programs, or two core programs, or accepting applications during that time. So between now and March is kind of a busy time for us. So putting it out there that we might have something to you in March, we may not. But just wanted to give you an update of kind of where we are. And that, again, apropos of sort of testing and evaluating each of our programs. This is an important one, and it's, again, one of the sort of things we hang our hat on related to our desire to be in all 92 counties, right? Is this regional network. So I'm happy to answer any questions on that, but just want to give you an update about where we are.
Any questions?
That's good.
Okay, seeing none. Next up on our agenda, Sherry, are you on the line for us to give us the Regional Arts Partnership Consortium report?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Glad to be here. Sorry, I'm not able to be here in person. I'm actually subbing in for Kayla, who was not able to attend this QBM. And I'm not able to be there in person, so I apologize for that. But it's been a great meeting. And as always, just lots of jam-packed full of all the wonderful things that the Arts Commission is doing. And one of those important things is the consortium. And so I would just report that, of course, we're in the maintenance phase for fiscal 25 for managing both our AOS and APS grantees and making sure they're all doing what they need to be doing and helping where we need to come in and help with any particular aspects of their grant projects. And then, of course, we are gearing up for fiscal 26. And in preparation for that, yesterday, the Arts Commission held a regional arts partner boot camp specifically designed to really just walk through and talk through all of the aspects of the APS application and the AOS application, and talking about the changes. Obviously, there are changes in some in scoring changes. The way that the APS will be reviewed this year is a change, and I think we're excited to see what that turns out to be in terms of no paneling, just a supercharged review team that the IAC will be putting together with input from the partners. And then also getting ready for panelist training for our AOS panels that will be coming up later on in April, May of 2025. I will preface my report to say that as I'm not able to be in person at the QBM today, I was not able to attend the boot camp yesterday, and nor was Kayla. She's ill, and so the two chairs are like, not being very good chairs because we weren't in attendance yesterday. But I do know that both the AOS and the APS applications, there was a walkthrough looking at, the changes and what those changes are going to mean in terms of workflow. Looking at the scoring, as I said, the reviewer, the panelist training, also just how we're going to communicate and manage the changes that are happening this year. And then looking at other programs that the IAC offers and getting updates from all of those. I would defer to Eric. Eric, if there is anything that would be important to share with the group in terms of the outcomes from yesterday. Eric's agreed to meet with Kayla and I both, I know this coming week, to kind of take us through the day, and we really appreciate that. And again, sorry for, I apologize for myself for not being able to attend. So Eric, if you have anything that you think the group should know that happened at the boot camp yesterday, I would certainly defer to you.
Thanks, Sherry. I'll just briefly say we all met yesterday. We've got a couple regional partners actually in the room that's stuck around for the QBM, and some came to dinner last night, so it was really awesome that they all made the effort to be there and to engage in this way and walk through every question on the application. We walked through each question one by one so that everyone's on the same page with the criteria, why we're asking it, what we're looking for, because they are, as Maya talked about, the people that are providing the technical assistance directly. And so we want to make sure in an effort to create a unified service environment for everyone, this was how this was functioning this year, and to go through the changes and make sure we're all on the same page. And I think we got there. Did we get there? Yeah, okay. It was a long day, and so just, I'm really appreciative of everyone's effort and engagement with all of that. It's a lot of work to do what they do, and we're really grateful to come alongside. Those programs can't happen without them, so it was great. So thanks, Sherry.
Great.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. And I don't think I have any other shareable kinds of items, just to remind everyone that, we're a part of that network. We're excited about the Every County funded programming and all of those kinds of things that are happening from the IAC staff. And just remember that that's also what we're doing too. We're networking and hopefully trying to generate more money going into the counties that we serve. It's always exciting when we get a new applicant or we get an applicant that says, okay, we've now done the work and we're able to move from APS to AOS. I think I have one of those in my region this year. So I love being a part of the partnership, and we've got a great group, and our meetings are always so productive that we have every other week. And so we'll just continue to do the work. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer if I can.
Thank you. Mark, did you have something?
No, I was just gonna ask, is there a one sheet like on what you are looking for with the regional partner? Like, in other words, what do you need them to do and what they're gonna do? I mean, I don't understand exactly.
Yeah, Mark, we'll sidebar on that.
Yeah, so yeah, eventually, I'd love to, because I don't
Absolutely, yes.
12 and all that
Yep.
stuff.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Great. Well, thank you, Sherry. And you don't need to apologize for missing things. That happens to all of us. So we're glad to have you here this morning, even virtually is great. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving back to our agenda, we do not have any consent agenda items moved to the full agenda. So I will again turn it over to Maya for a transition update.
Yeah, so I'll just say a few words about the transition here in state government. As everyone knows, Governor-elect Mike Braun will be sworn in January 13th, and has already announced some changes in agency structure as a reporting structure. It has done more than signaled, an intent to organize state agencies into 8 reporting verticals. And we will be in one of those reporting verticals, and that will change, I think, some things related to how we report, who we talk to, who we are partnered with. I don't want to say too more because it's a fast changing environment right now. And what I will say, obviously, we will have far more information when we get together at the March quarterly business meeting about how things have shaken out. But we do anticipate that we'll be clustered with other agencies with whom we have a relationship already and are working together, which is great. And again, we look forward to the opportunity to talk about all the great work that you've heard about today with those state agencies and so forth. So it's going to be a new challenge, but we're up for it. We're arts people, we're creative, we're flexible, we ask questions, we're curious. So we're going to go into this with a sense of excitement about what's coming, and we're going to figure it out together. So great. Just want to let you know, again, some changes, and we'll have more information possibly about that in March. Great, thank you.
Next up, is there any old business or new business to come before the commission? Chair's prerogative, take a moment of personal privilege. I want to thank the IAC staff for their support of the Hoosier Women Artists Program. I know I had invited all of you. Thank you to Greg, who was able to join us. We had a great event in November with the 4 women who have served as Lieutenant Governor, celebrating the Hoosier Women Artist Program. It just warmed my ever-loving state government heart to have these, and all 4 of the women spoke at the event, and there were a number of artists who came, and we had some of the staff there, and it just really total highlight for me. So a really big thank you. And the good news is that the Chief Justice, Loretta Rush of the Indiana Supreme Court, wants to continue the program. So I am will be working with her staff, and critical for me is to find a way for us to continue to fund the artists, the honorarium that we started this past year. And so working with hopefully it'll be come through the agency formerly known as Tourism, the Indiana Destination Development Corporation. So working on that. It's really probably the last 2 things I have to do in my current job, that and find everyone a new job. So I just wanted to I love the program itself. It's been wonderful, and it was a great event, and thanks to the team who has worked on that program over the years. Appreciate it. Anything else? Okay, seeing no other business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
So moved.
We have a motion, and I will take the other motion as a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As of 11:27, thank you.
Wow.
Thanks. Merry
Thanks, everybody.
Christmas.